Hello friends, today in this tutorial I will be building a GraphQL server, kind of like this will be a CRUD kind of application where we will be creating resources, deleting it, updating it as well. As you know, GraphQL is similar to REST API, but it offers cleaner syntax and it only returns the information that you want. So it's a very new technology inside the market. So many developers use GraphQL inside their front end applications. So we will be looking at a crash course. We will be building a complete CRUD API inside this tutorial. So basically this is a application that we will be building. So I am running this on localhost, and if you go to the route slash GraphQL, so this is the GraphQL interface, and you can see the documentation. The query is that you can see you can query a list of all websites, list of all owners. So these are two resources out there, websites and owners. So in the left hand side, the syntax is pretty easy. So it's similar to JSON like structure. A set of curly brackets. Inside this you will put the resource name, which is, let's suppose I want to query websites, and inside this a set of curly brackets again, and now we need to query the name of the website, and this will return only the name of all the websites. If I run here, you will see it will return a array of objects. Each objects have a name property. You can see Facebook, Google, Amazon, GitHub, Medium, Baidu, Zapak, and Cricinfo. So inside this manner we are returning data. So we are only requesting data what we want. Let's suppose we also want the id field as well. So you can see we haven't put the comma here. We don't need to put comma. So this is the id field that we are requesting. If I once again run this, you will see the id will also be returned. And there are three fields out there, which is owner id as well. So this is the owner id. If I also run this, you will see the owner id will also be displaying right here. So you can just display only the information that you need. So we can even now print out the owners as well, like this is the owners property, and I need to print the name as well. So if I run this, you will see these are the three owners which are printed out, which has a name property to it. So you can see we can also click this right here. You can see if I click this, you can see it has two properties, id and name. I can also request the id property as well, like this. If I run this, you will see id will also be printed out, id 1, 2 and 3. And inside this we can also print out the websites which the owners owns, like this, sorry, websites, and then we can say name. So you can see we are first of all printing out the owners, and then we are printing out the websites. Here you can see name, Facebook, Google, like this. So we can even print out only one website at a time. So we have a route here which is, you can see website, and here we need to provide, let me just show you. In the documentation you will see we have the option to print out a single website. You can see if I click this, we need to provide some arguments here, which is id. So inside this id we need to provide a id colon 1. So this is a value that we are providing here, the query parameter. And now if I print name here, it will only print the first website, which is Facebook. If I change the id parameter to 2, now it will print the second website, which is Google. So here you can just provide any sort of parameter. You can see GitHub. Now if I provide a invalid argument, which is 100, you will see this will return null value to me. You can see. So GraphQL offers great resistance when comparison to REST API. If you make the same calls using REST API, you will have to make many more calls. But GraphQL makes it easy to return data. Whatever data that you want, you can request it inside this structure. And now we can repeat the same thing for owner as well. You can see owner, and here we can provide a value, id parameter id 1. And if I print out name, you will see it will print out John Estelle. Only three owners are there. If I print the second owner, which is my name Gautam, and if I change the third id to 3, you can see Kane Williamson. So now we will look at the CRUD operation, which is how to add a new owner, how to delete a existing owner, and how to update it. So in GraphQL, these CRUD operations are performed by mutation. So here we will write the mutation query, and then we set of curly brackets, and then we will write our query, which is now to add a owner. We have this add owner query, and this is pretty simple. You need to provide. If I look the documentation, you will see inside the schema you will see the mutation. So if you click this mutation, you will see various CRUD operations that you can perform. This is the add owner mutation. So here we need to add a string value here. So we can provide a string value and the id will be automatically generated for us. So this will be a string value, so we need to surround it by a set of double quotes. So here I will write, let's suppose, John Doe uh, Junior. So I have printed, you can see if I now print name here, you will see this name has been successfully added. And now uh, uh, if I print out all the owners here, name here like this, you will see this owner has been successfully added inside our list here. You can see now 4 owners are there. So in this way you can perform mutation. We can even delete a owner as well, like this mutation. And now we have this, which is I think, which is remove owner. And here we need to provide a id parameter. So whichever owner that you want to remove, let's suppose I want to remove this first owner, which is John Astle. Here we need to provide the id parameter to 1, and then we can print out name. So you can see now Kane Williamson is printed out because that entry will be successfully deleted. Now if I print out the owner's name and also the id, so you will see that John Astle was successfully removed, the id 1 was successfully removed, so 2 3 4. So in this way you can provide CRUD operations. You can delete owners, you can create owners. And now let me just show you the updation process as well. So now if I want to update a owner, let's suppose the second owner, I will provide update owner. And here we need to provide the id, which is the second. And also we need to provide the name attribute. Let me just change my name to Gautam Sharma changed. And now if I provide the name and the id, so you will see after performing this query, you will see my name will be changed here, Gautam Sharma changed. And now once again if I print this value here, owners, and if I print out name and id, you will see this name has been changed here, Gautam Sharma changed here, you can see. So in this way guys, you can just perform any sort of query or mutation inside GraphQL. So we will be building this kind of application in Node.js and Express. We will be using a special dependency inside Node Package Manager. If you go to npmjs.com, we will be using 3 dependencies. First is the Express for building out our server. Then we will be using GraphQL. And the next dependency that we will use is Express-GraphQL. And all the source code regarding this video will be there inside the video description. You can just check my detailed step-by-step blog post, which is there inside the video description. So you can just go to it and just download all the source code, and a step-by-step instruction is there. So I will be seeing in the next slide. And now to get started guys, first of all let me just show you the dependencies which we'll be using here. So first of all we will create a new project here. So inside my desktop directory, inside projects directory, I will make a new directory here. Let me just go to cmd and make a directory, or let me just show you all the dependencies that we will be needing here. So let me just delete all this code here. So if you just make a new Node.js project, just make npm init -y. So this will create an empty package.json file inside your project, and then you need to install these 3 dependencies: Express, GraphQL, and Express-GraphQL. So this third dependency which we will be using in order to integrate GraphQL inside Express application. So just install these 3 dependencies, And if you go to npm.js, you will search for this dependency, which is Express-GraphQL. If you search, the very first result which comes in, so this is a dependency that we will be using here in order to make GraphQL server inside Express. So very simple example is given to you. So you just need to follow the step-by-step instructions. So now let me just make a very simple index.js file inside your directory. Let me just delete this index.html file. We don't need this. So just make an index.js file, and inside this, first of all, we will make very simple Express server. So we need to require it, and just make an app variable, initialize it to the Express, and also make a port variable on which the app will be running. So app listen, and then we will pass the port number, and the second is the callback function. So we can just say console log app is listening on port, like this. So now what we need to do is that we need to just get our require our Express GraphQL dependency, which is like this. We need to, and inside this we need to get a method. We need to extract the method which is called as GraphQL HTTP. You can see this is a method. We need to extract it, and now we need to pass it as a middleware function. So app.use, and here we will make a request which is slash GraphQL, and then we need to use this method here, GraphQL HTTP, and inside this we need to pass a option. So the option is graph IQL. So this is the option. We need to set it to true. So it's a boolean option. We need to set it to true. Now you can just uh, so you need to just npm run start. Npm run start. If you run this application, you can see app is listening on port 5000. If you just run this application and go to localhost 5000, nothing will happen because you need to go to that route that you have configured slash GraphQL. And if you just go to it, you will see this message error is coming because you haven't provided a schema. So inside GraphQL schema, you need to provide a schema option as well. So if you just see here, the second option, the mandatory option is schema. You need to provide that schema. Schema is nothing but data, what data that you will be providing to GraphQL. So GraphQL is basically, end of the day, is a server which send out data to clients. So you need to provide some data to GraphQL. So now we need to make the schema variable, so which will be the backbone of our GraphQL server. So we will be building this. So for this we will be using some static data inside our application, which will be websites and owners. So let me just show you how we will be making. So just make a two arrays here, which is websites, and this will be an array of objects, so which will have a name property. Name will be, sorry, first will be the id property. So id1. Name, you can just give any website name, Google. And the third is the owner id. So whichever owner owns this website, you can just provide any. So instead of typing this, you can just go to my blog and paste this code here. So it is given here, these two arrays, you need to just copy it. So just copy this and paste it. So you can also use database as well, MongoDB, MySQL, but just for illustration purpose, I am using this static data. So nothing, we have these two arrays, array of objects. So this is the owners array and this is a website array. Now after this copy pasting it, you just need to make this object type here. So step-by-step instruction is given here. So just you need to copy this here from the code here. After this we will paste it, this code here. Let me just explain what is happening. So here we are making a website type GraphQL object type. So basically this is the object type that we need to import here. So all these things we need to import. So we need to require it from GraphQL. So first is GraphQL object type, and also we need to make this GraphQL non-null. So this makes the field non-nullable. You can't provide a null value inside this field. So ID must be having some value. So same goes for name and same goes for owner ID as well. So this is GraphQL int meant for integers, GraphQL string meant for string values, like this. So we also need to import all these steps. GraphQL int, and then we also need to have GraphQL non-null. So I can just format the document here. So you can see all these values are being imported from GraphQL dependency that we have installed early on. So same we need to make this for owner type as well. So I will just copy it and change it. So here you can just change this to owner type, and here you can just replace here owner instead of website. So here you can change the description. This represents a owner, and the fields inside owner is only ID and name, so we don't need the owner ID. So you can see we have two fields here, ID and name. So that is why we are providing here two fields here. So fields is actually a function. Here you can see we are providing an arrow function. So inside this we are providing a set of objects. First is ID and second is name. After making these two object types, here we need to you can see inside the root we need to make a query. So you just need to paste this root query type. So after this, so just paste it. So you will see this is the actual query that we will make inside our GraphQL when we write inside the user interface. So you can see we will have for websites. So this is the name of the query. You can just change it to anything, but for explanation I will only stick with websites. So if you write websites inside GraphQL, so this will return all the websites, list of all websites. Same goes for owner as well. It will return all the owners. So this is an array here, actual array that we have configured here, you can see. And for this we need to import GraphQL list. So GraphQL list is the attribute for returning an array here. So list is called array inside JavaScript. So you can see we are wrapping this inside GraphQL list here, you can see. And now we are in a position so we can run this GraphQL application. Just we need to make the schema variables. So schema is very much important. So in the next step you will see how to do this. So just you need to make a schema variable, and so just write this line of code, make a schema variable, and this contains this constant which is GraphQL schema, and inside this you need to provide this attribute which is query, and we will be initializing the query to this root query tab that we have configured here. So now again we need to import this GraphQL schema. That's it. And now the schema variable we need to pass here. We are passing the schema here inside our GraphQL request. So if you refresh this application, no error will be there. Now if you run this, your GraphQL server will run, and inside the documentation you will see this query parameter. If you click this, you will see two resources will be there, websites and owners. And now we are in a position where we can write some query. If I write owners, and let's suppose I only want name. If I run this, you will see all the names will be printed out. So we can even request, let's suppose I want also the ID as well. You can see ID 123. And now let me just change this to websites. Websites, we need to print out name. So very simple stuff. And inside this we also need ID and also owner ID. So you can see we are requesting all this information in GraphQL and it is returning it successfully. So this is GraphQL. And now we will look at mutations inside GraphQL, how to perform the CRUD operations. So, but before that, we can configure this also, which is a single website and the single owner. So simply we need to copy this code, and right here you can just paste it inside the query, root query type. So just put a comma here, just put a comma and paste this code here like this. So this goes for a single website. You can see website, not websites. So a single website and a single owner. So here you just need to provide a third parameter, which is ARGS, so which stands for arguments. So inside this argument we are expecting a single argument, which is ID, which is of type GraphQL int. And this is a special property which is resolve. Resolve is kind of a function which is what you will return inside this query. So resolve is a function which you will return through this query. So we are returning a single website. We are just using a find function here inside our array. So this is a simple JavaScript array function which finds a specific uh, resource, where we are checking here website ID is equal to the arguments.id. Same goes for owner as well. So we are also using the find method here. So a single owner. So now if I refresh the application, you will see, if I click the query option, you will also see we can even query a single website and a single owner as well. So now if I write here website, and now to query a single website, we need to provide the ID, which is 1. So this will print out the first website name. You will see it print out Facebook. And now if I change this website to owner, this will print out the first owner, which is John Estelle. So very much useful, very much easy, no problem at all. Now we will move on to mutations. Mutations, as I already told you, is the CRUD operations that we perform. So for mutations, you need to make a separate variable, which is root mutation type. So I will paste it here like this. So inside this, we are performing all the mutations here. So here we just need to add this mutations. So there is a property here which is called as mutation, and here we just need to add our mutation, which is root mutation type. That's it. And that's the only change that you need to make. And now let me just explain what we are doing inside this root mutation type. So we are providing a name, description, and the field section. So inside these fields, we are writing the first mutation, which is add website, which adds the actual website to the array. We are again taking two arguments, which is name and the owner ID. And then we are resolving it. We are making a new object. ID will be auto incremented. So you can see websites dot length plus 1. And we are making the name and the owner ID, setting it. And then we are using the push method of array, pushing the new website into the original array, and then we are returning it. And for removal process, we are using a filter method of array, websites.filter. We are making the comparison here. Again, we are using ID as the argument, and this will remove the website. And same goes for the owner as well. We are adding the owner, removing the owner. And for the updation process, we are using this 2 lines of code just for setting up the updated data. We will provide the arguments to ID that is ID and name, we will provide it inside updated. So if I just refresh here, you will see this mutation will appear here. If I click this, you will see all these mutations will be there. So the documentation GraphQL provides you, it will provide you all the docs of your operations. So here we can just add a, for mutations you need to modify your query like this mutation, and then you can just add a owner as, you just need to just provide a name attribute here. So you can see the owner has been successfully added. And now if I print out all the owners, you will see this owner has been added. So if I just remove it, so here we just need the ID property. So you can see that owner has been successfully removed. If I just again print out, so you will see that owner has been successfully removed. Let me also print the ID as well. So you can see the ID one has been successfully removed. And thirdly, we will look at the updation. So here we will provide the ID, and also we need to provide name. So ID1 doesn't look, we will have the, and once again if you print it, you will see the name was updated here successfully. So in this way you can just make a CRUD application inside GraphQL, inside Node.js and Express. All the source code will be there inside the video description. You can just copy paste the source code and also implement GraphQL inside your own application. So it's a new technology, you should have to adapt to this technology. It's a replacement for REST API, and I will be making many more videos inside future on GraphQL. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And before leaving the channel, please check out my website, Free Media Tools website. Here I post daily audio, video, and image tools. So it's a great website. Please share this website with your friends. The link will be there inside the video description. And I will be seeing you in the next video.